Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neuro coaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, we are back this week. We are so excited to bring to you amazing things. By the way, if you haven't seen our new feature, right at the beginning of our show notes on your favorite podcasting platform, you can text us now. So reach out and let us know what you think about the episode, any questions you have, if you need to know where to go to join our community, which is also in the show notes. You've got free gifts, which are weekly in our show notes. And we are here to support you in becoming unleashed and unstoppable. You matter, you're worthy, you are limitless. And we're going to bring you even more great information today. So let's dive in. Yeah, I'm so excited. Alex Leanne, we're going to talk about being able to go exponential, aren't we?
We are. And it's funny, like it's really easy to get just caught up in like your day-to-day, right? I was talking about like the mundane train, right? We're just like kind of going on with life. And I was reminded of the concept, or really looking at, your bigger vision. And, we talk a lot of this episode about vision, right? Leaders really do lead by vision, but it really drives the home of the importance of the vision a little bit further, especially when you're looking at neuro-hacking your vision, neuro-hacking results, and really working, right, smarter, not harder, and having your efforts really double down for you, or 10x down for you, right? Like in a recent book that you've read, Carol, to really support in what it is that you're out there and creating. Yeah. So, Carol, I know you've read the book, and, we talked a little before we started recording. So what can you share some insight with our audience, our listener today, about what we're talking about, and why it's not just about having like a vision, but really casting out there the true real essence of like, what is it you really want to create? Like I like to call it my, the big, your ambitious goal, your ambitious vision, right? Like putting something out there. But why that's so important in really neurohacking the more foreseeable goals and intentions, and really mapping out what is it you want to create over the next, couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years.
This is such a great neuro hack. And the book I read, which again, we'll put in the show notes, is 10X is easier than 2X. This is by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And, it's so amazing when you start to work with your brain. Have you ever just felt like you're in the struggle, the push and pull, and the obstacles are building, and you're just like, that temptation to give up, and that questioning ourselves, doubting, was my vision real? And especially, what I have found with myself and my clients, this is something that the brain does to protect us, is it blocks us. So we have a vision, we have clarity on it, we're moving forward, an obstacle comes along, and all of a sudden our vision is blocked and cloudy. Wait, where did my vision go? What happened? I don't know where it went. And, it can be this sense of confusion and overwhelm, and, I don't have a vision, or, like, and my visions aren't possible. They're meant for other people. They're really not meant for me. And, this is too hard, and I just want to give up. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, I'm spinning. And this is all, as we've talked to you about many times before, shared with you, brain safety. So when you're, feeling and thinking these things, when you're believing that, what you want is not really possible for you, then this is where we can really do some interesting things to neuro-hack. And this is what I'm excited about, and you are too, Alex, I know, to actually dream bigger. And when our brains over here, chattering away, you're just like, hey, what's going on here? Um, it's so counterintuitive and incredibly powerful. So, in the book, you asked me some of the things I learned in the book. Um, it was just really interesting to realize that 10xing is not necessarily about the outcome, but it's a counterintuitive process. And boy, you're going to hear that a lot from us, counterintuitive, because we've been given these set of parameters as we were growing up that they were boxes, they were structures, right? And in their time, they may have served us and kept us safe. And, but they also can very easily keep you standing on the sidelines, right? Or keep you playing small, not believing that you're actually meant for more. So we want to break things down often in really small, achievable steps. How do you walk 1,000 miles? Well, do it one step at a time, right? But when we're looking at vision, it's interesting how releasing ourselves to dream big can open up channels and opportunities that we never even thought were possible, and allowing ourselves to think that something is meant for us, something can happen for us despite whatever our circumstances are. So, yeah, there's more, but we'll start there, right?
And I really believe that it starts with giving yourself permission, right?
Yeah,
Especially if you've
yeah,
been up against where you haven't had permission or you've been told, well, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do
yeah,
that, right? The brain's automatic is going to be, well, I can't do that or I can't have that or whatever that looks like.
yeah,
So if you can give yourself permission and just start there, that
yeah,
already will allow the brain to open up to possibility because you've given yourself permission to dream, right? There's no, just because you dream something, that doesn't mean you're committing to it. It's just a place of really being
yeah,
curious.
yeah,
And I just think that's really important to be able to start from that place because it really is, right? If as you're listening to this and we're inviting you to this, your brain could very possibly firing out a lot of like, you can't do that, or, that's not for me and whatever, right? Like
yeah,
your brain's trying to keep you safe. And we're saying, hey, listener, take a moment to be curious about what do you want to experience and to dream a little bigger. And
mm,
the reason why we're inviting you to do that is because we know through neuroscience and how our brains work
yeah,
that whatever it's going to take for you to create just that first step, you know what, I'm going to use the house, for example, right?
yeah,
Like, I
hmm,
remember even just like getting the house, like I had to work through a lot of beliefs around like purchasing our first home, right? Because that
yeah,
can be intimidating, all the thoughts and beliefs around that. But now, like we have the house, I'm like, okay, so now you start thinking, like, okay,
yeah,
what about the next one, or maybe a rental property, or whatever that may look like, right? It's like it's really looking out further. Of course, because we're already here, it's easy to look at the next step because we're here.
yeah,
What if you started with the bigger vision? You started with thinking, oh, maybe one day we'd like to own 3 properties, 5 properties, right? Whatever is going to come up around the 5 properties,
hmm,
you're going to experience about the first property, but all of a sudden your brain is focusing more about the 5 properties and not so much on the first property. And now again, that first property becomes so much easier.
yeah,
Right. And I remember for me, it was like this more specific was more about the size, right? Like I was looking at these bigger houses, like had me like feeling super anxious. And so,
Mhm.
like little things like that. And that's what's so cool about to understand with the brain is that it's going to communicate to you. The beliefs are going to be there.
Yeah.
And whether you do something like a little bit outside of your comfort zone or massively outside the comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? They're going to be there. And so to support you, especially because we know you've got big goals, you've got big dreams,
Yeah.
as well work with the big scary thoughts to make life easier, to help you
Yeah.
overcome some of these smaller, not overcome, but like achieve some of those smaller milestones, right?
Yeah.
To make the bigger milestone so much more easy accessible and to train your brain through the process to help you get there. Because
Yeah.
something that we often say, and that was taught to us by our mentor, was like new level, new devil, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you
Yeah.
hit this milestone, guess what? You're going to encounter brain resistance again because
Yeah.
now you're up to the next thing. And so knowing that our brains are wired to keep us in the safe and
Yeah.
familiar, which is currently where you are, and also knowing that because of neuroplasticity, we can actually train the brain to connect with something that's outside of ourselves. So whether, right, like it doesn't know the
Yeah.
difference between the past, the present, or the future,
Yeah.
you might as well have fun and really expand it out to a greater vision and a greater future or whatever it is that you're after, and then work with that to create that. And
Yeah.
see,
It's right.
I forgot that. I
Yeah.
had forgotten that, even though this is the work that we do and
Yeah.
we work with our clients, but I had forgotten about that for a while,
Yeah.
about really, I just had the vision of like going
Yeah.
fishing, right? Like putting the fishing rod like out there, right? Like really forecasting something that you can't see because you have no idea where the
Yeah.
fish in the ocean or the lake wherever you're fishing. I'm not a big fisher, but all of a sudden this came to mind, right? But you can't see it, but you got to trust and believe that it's out there, right? Which is
Right.
why you throw that out there.
It's so important. And, it is counterintuitive, right? Like we were talking about being able to cast that wider net and just go for it. And really, one of the things that you can start to do when you're putting a bit bigger vision out there, for example, working with 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs and business owners, it's really powerful when you stand and start to reverse engineer from a bigger place, right? And so, one of the things that happens along the way that the book brought out, which I liked, was it's about quality, not quantity.
Mm,
And really, I think the biggest surprise was it comes down to our questions about freedom. Um, it's so important to start to understand what we can do. So if for example, you are not to 6 figures or not to 7 figures, a great example is that, well, neither have been created yet. Why not start priming in the 7 figures and start thinking bigger, playing bigger? And, when you're starting to cast that net and look out there and start to see what's possible, some of the things that we teach inside of our program with the neuro-hacking that we do, with the brain priming that we do, is to find evidence. So when you're thinking about, a vision is blocked or cloudy, now you're telling me to go and think even bigger. What's wrong with you? Listen, it's okay. It's okay. Deep breath. Um, it it's actually something that is so powerful. And when you start to look at this and do this, one of the things that we teach is to go and supply yourself with evidence. Now, we teach this in a very specific way with a very specific part of our process. which is when we're having that awareness and we're starting to logically turn it around before we go into emotionally turning it around. Both are important because remember, your beliefs are a combination of thought and emotion. But you want to provide your brain evidence. So, Carol, how can I provide my brain evidence is what, my clients have said when I have never done this before. And the way that you can provide yourself evidence is that you can go and find evidence that it's humanly done, that other people have done it. Um, and once your brain starts to see that, it can begin to open up vision and unblock things. There's also a second thing that you can do. And, we take our clients through a specific vision clarity process. Mine is called a success map, where you can ask questions from a different direction. So if I were to say to you right now, what's your vision? You might like freeze up. Survival mode. I don't know, or it's like cloudy or blocked. But you can really the quality of your life is so dependent on the quality of your questions. So you can start to ask yourself questions coming at it from a different angle. Think of yourself like a diamond. Diamond's got all these different kind of facets and angles. So you want to start looking at things from those different facets and ask questions along that way. One might be, what makes your heart leap for joy? If you could do anything with your children right now, what would that be and why? And asking questions, not just the direct one, but from other parts and aspects of our lives, and then combining it with evidence of what's possible. Man, these are really where I see a ton of breakthroughs. I had breakthroughs myself when I went through this process, and I love taking my clients through this. So, yeah, really
And
powerful.
and one piece that I think gets and similar to even looking at the questions and ask yourself different questions. One question that I often like to ask is like, what does the done success look like? And then you can
Mm,
kind of ask yourself that even in all the different categories. It really helps you get to that point of, okay, what does this look like?
yeah,
Right. And a lot of times what'll look like is like relationships.
mm,
It'll look like this is how I'm spending my time
yeah,
and what you're experiencing. And I think that that's why it is so powerful to sort of take a step back and really ask yourself and be curious about that and to allow yourself permission, because you really are breaking free from perhaps what society has dictated or what other people may
mm,
have told you
yeah,
should be your vision and what you should be doing and how you should be living your life and things like that. And now we're asking you to hold on a second. Let's just take a step back and get real clear on, is this really the life I want to be living? Is this
yeah,
really how I want to be spending my time?
yeah.
And you might be listening to this and you are like, oh my goodness, I love everything that I do. And
Mm,
the fun thing is, it's a process, it's a journey. When we had Danielle on a couple of weeks ago, we also spoke a little bit about this, right? We're really
yeah,
building a life that you love. And so just ask yourself, like really go through all the areas of your life and different pockets and just, would you give yourself a 10 out of 10 everywhere?
mm,
Right. And what I find is fun is oftentimes when you do arrive at certain milestones and destinations, other things open,
yes,
and they open when you're open for them to open up. Right.
right.
If you still are operating from very close, it's not possible, then
Mm,
you won't see it. By
yeah,
giving yourself permission to be curious, to be open to possibility,
yeah,
then possibilities will open and you start to learn more.
right.
And what's coming to me as we're speaking to support you, listener, in being open, being curious, is I would on your phone create a little note section and call it vision, can call it dreams, call it living my best life ever, and just have it there with you.
Yeah.
And when you're out and about, or when you've had your
Mhm.
shower, or when you're thinking about like, oh, it would be nice to, oh, I'd like to, or having conversations with people that are sharing some things that they're up to. Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. I would
Yeah.
love to, right? Have a place that you can just start to put ideas. Because what's so cool, what Carol and I both know about you listening to this episode, is we're actually activating your reticular activating system,
That's
which is
right.
the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And now, right, like we're activating your brain to be open,
Yeah.
and you get to choose it.
Yeah.
So I love, as you're listening to this, to actually repeat after me and say, I choose to be curious, and I choose to be open to expanding my vision and to receive whatever could be possible for the next step of my journey and the next part of my vision.
Yes. Wow. Well, we are so happy to bring you this. We're leaving you with a shorter, more concise episode this week. We really dove deep on burnout, and that was so amazing. So make sure you go back and you catch that episode. And we want to just remind you that with these particular activities that we've just given you, put these to work, right? These are our calls to action for you. And text us, share with us, did this work for you? What was most effective? What was most helpful? Just to stay with what you've got going on doesn't mean you're stuck there. And doesn't mean that, you cannot, that you don't have the ability to expand your vision and lean into the freedoms that are powerful for you through this process. We're going to put the book 10X is Easier Than 2X in the show notes. Great book. And continue to bring you the neuroscience, the neuro-hacks for this. And we just want to thank you for being here with us, for being on the journey, and let us know what you want to hear. We love bringing you this information because it has powerfully transformed both of our lives and transformed many of our clients' lives and is transforming lives of the people that we're working with right now. And we know that as we each transform out there, that we all matter, that we're all connected. And this is what creates a better world. So thank you again for being with us. And we can't wait to see you next week, right, Alex Leanne?
Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of our podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Ciao for now. Bye.
This episode of Unleashed and Unstoppable is brought to you by Easy Way Network.
If you want to amplify your reach, visibility, and generate more sales leads, joint venture partners, and increase your bottom line by one simple login, then Easy Way Network is your solution to greatness. Our all-in-one marketing solutions hub can help boost your event, podcast, and increase your relationship equity by the click of a button. What are you waiting for? EasyWayNetwork.com.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.